The power of FileMaker lies in the ability to create found sets. Found sets control what you are viewing and thus what you are manipulating. For instance, if you found all the people in California, you could then export just those people to a text file or an Excel file and give it to somebody else. Or you could print just the people from California. Or you could sort just the people from California. Everything obeys found sets. Well, there's one exception, that's relationships, but we'll get into that later. What we're going to do is perform some simple finds, just to get you started off, and then we'll get into more complex finds. So let's give it a try. To get into find mode, there's several different ways. You can click the find button here. You can go to the view menu and choose find mode. You can go down here and choose find. You can even use the keyboard command, which is Command F or Control F on Windows. But the easiest way, really, if you have the status toolbar showing, is just to click this button. And you'll notice when you go into find mode that you have these little magnifying glasses. Not in the field that you're clicked into, but all the other fields. And this is an indicator that you're in find mode. It helps you to understand, I'm in find mode, not browse mode. Because a lot of people end up entering their data in find mode thinking they're in browse mode, and then they close the file and then open it and all that data is gone. Now, it also doesn't matter what view you're in. You could be in any view you want. You could be in list view or table view. Doesn't matter. Both of them are find mode. You could be on the contacts form, and you still are in find mode. Doesn't matter where you're at. Once you're in that mode, until you leave it, it's always going to be in that mode. So we'll go back to the list view, and we'll stay in table view. And what we're going to do is try some simple finds again. So we're going to go into the last name field and type Osborne. And then there's several ways you can initiate the find. You could hit the enter key on the keyboard or the return key on the keyboard, or you can come over here and click the perform find button. And you can see what it's done is it's found two records. You can see it up here, John Osborne and Nancy Osborne. So really simple, just type in what you want and it'll find it. Let's go in and find out how finding really works. So we'll hit find again, and this time we'll just type in an O. Then we'll perform the find. And it still does the same find, but it would have found somebody if there was an Oswald, a last name of Oswald in there. So it would find anything beginning with the O. Now we can come in there and do a find and type in OS. Then hit the perform find. Same find. It starts from the beginning of each word and searches for the criteria that you enter into find mode. So we want to remember that it doesn't search in the middle. If we go into find mode and type in an S, which is in Osborne, and then perform it, you'll see we find a whole bunch of different people, all of which begin with S in the last name. So remember that it starts searching from the beginning of each word, because there can be several words in there. So if you had a last name of Del space Rio, well, you could search by the D or the R or the D space R. We'll find out how that works in a second. So let's go back into find. This time we're going to type a J into the first name and an O into the last name. It's going to have to match both of these. The first name is going to have a J in it, or begin with a J, and the last name is going to have to begin with an O. You can see we only find John Osborne this time. If we go into find mode, we can notice that find mode disregards case. So we'll type it in all caps, perform the find. You see it still finds Osborne even though they're in data entry mode or browse mode in proper case. Now you can make FileMaker care about case, but we're going to get into that later. That's in your storage options and manage database. Usually you change that for email addresses because the @ sign is a reserved character, but we'll get into that stuff later. Typically, most of your fields are just going to be standard finds with lowercase or uppercase not making a difference. Let's go into find, and we'll type into the city field C space H. So let's do that find and see what happens. You notice it finds Chino Hills. That's because it has to search for any city that begins with Chino or Hills, or any word that begins. In fact, it has to have both those words in there. So it wouldn't find Chino, for instance. Now if we go in there and type in Chino Hills, it'll do the same thing. We can perform it that way as well. So it all depends what you want to have happen. You need to understand how find mode works so you can better search. Save yourself some time. If you don't have to type in the whole criteria, well, you can save yourself some time. Or if you want to find any city that begins with C, well, then you just type in C. Come in here and type that. Hit the perform find. You see now it finds all these, but C space H finds only Chino Hills. So let's go in here and try some other finds. Let's try finding by Chino space T. We'll go ahead and perform that find. And you notice what it gives you is no records match this find criteria. Nothing was found with that criteria of Chino and then another word with T beginning with that. So there's two choices here, cancel or modify find. Let's try modify find. We can come in here and make our correction. Just put an H there instead and perform the find. Simple as that. That's how modify find works. It says, hey, I just did a find. It didn't quite work the way I wanted to. I want to go ahead and change it. Rather than typing in all that criteria again, you can just modify what you have. So it's important to become familiar with all the options, which is why we're going to try the cancel option now. We're going to hit find, type in Chino T again, hit perform find. This time we'll hit cancel, and you notice you'll go back to your found set in browse mode. So again, it's important to know every option so you know what to do. So we're going to get into more complex finds later, but for right now, those are basic finds. Very easy to do. Find mode is a lot like browse mode. It's just a different way of looking at the information or working with the information. And in data entry or browse mode, you're actually entering records that you're going to keep. In find mode, you're manipulating the found set so you can do something with it later. So found sets are the key to a database and what differentiates it from a spreadsheet. Relationships also make a database stand above and beyond a spreadsheet, but found sets are really the big one because in a spreadsheet you just have all that data. In a database you can say, hey, I want to just look at this part of the data right now.